enemies. But as I said, things began to change. The great glory that was Islam, the great civilization that was Islam, began to wane. And bit by bit, piece by piece, the Muslim nations and the Muslim lands began to be subjugated to the disbelievers, to those people who were not Muslim. In fact, to the extent that as the Christians and other nations had invited the Muslims to come and liberate them, now the opposite was happening. Now Muslims were calling upon the disbelievers to come and liberate them from the tyranny of other Muslims. Because the liberators had become tyrants. The people who gave their lives entirely for Allah were now giving their lives entirely for the dunya. And so the prophecy of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam began to become fulfilled. As the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, soon the nations will gather together to take from you in the same way that you invite each other to share in a feast. His companions said, O Messenger of Allah, is that because we are small in number? The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, no, you will be many like the foam on the sea, but you will be like the rubbish and the scum that is carried by the flood. And Allah will take from the hearts of your enemies the fear of you, and into your hearts He, Allah, will cast wahan. They said, O Messenger of Allah, what is wahan? And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Hubb ad-dunya wa kariyatul maut. Love of the world and fear of death. I remember when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His mercy blessed me to be able to make Hajj. One of the things that I had always wanted to see with my eyes was the group of Muslims. If you go to the Kaaba, you will see and stand, if you stand on the roof of the mosque area that goes round the center where you can look onto the Kaaba, you can see the people making tawaf. And of course in Hajj, the whole open courtyard is a mass of people making tawaf. And there's something I always wanted to see, no religious reason for it, it was just a spectacle that I wanted to see it, that for me it amazed me. When the adhan goes, what you find is that bit by bit, the outer edges of that group of people stand still as people get ready for prayer. And what happens, you find, is the group of people making tawaf get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. You know, a little bit like the water going down. It's just a spectacle. I wanted to see it. It was just amazed me when I saw it on the TV, and I wanted to see it in real life. No religious reason, just out of wanting to see it. So there I was standing on the roof of the masjid looking down on this, and there was a man, I think he was Egyptian. He looked at me and he said, he must have figured I was English. He said to me, isn't that a beautiful sight? Doesn't it make you feel so happy? And I looked around me, and I turned to him and I said, no. He said, Astaghfirullah. Like I'd made some kufr or something. Astaghfirullah, what do you mean? How can you not be pleased at this? I said, my brother, you know, when I see this, all these people, millions of them, dressed in ihram, and I think about the situation of the Muslims, I think about Palestine, I think about Afghanistan, that's the time it was then, I think about all the things going on in the Muslim world, And I remember the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that soon the nations will gather together to take from you in the same way that you invite others to share in a feast. And how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, our numbers will be many like the foam on the sea. And I see all these people dressed in white, and I think of that. We are many like the foam on the sea, but we are absolutely without any ability to stop the attack and the destruction of our lands and our honor and our dignity. And so I am sad, because I realize our numbers mean nothing. So let us look at this hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First of all, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam describes our ummah as a feast. And that is the truth. Because in the lands of Islam and in the lands of Muslims, we have everything. We have oil. We have mineral resources. We have agricultural resources. And we have the intellectual resources. Within the Muslims and their nations are amongst the most intelligent people in the world. How many doctors, how many engineers, astrophysicists we have amongst us? Countless numbers. Yet where is Islam? Where is the victory of Islam? Where is the strength of Islam? No, wherever we look, we see that the enemy are feasting on us. As we all know what is going on right now in Iraq. We all know what it's about. Whatever America and Britain tell us, everybody knows in reality it's only about one thing: controlling oil supplies. This is what it's about. In fact, the Gulf War was exactly about that. It was a war for oil. They are feasting on us, taking the property of the Muslims and the people of Islam and distributing it amongst themselves. Like you go to a feast, here brother, take this, here brother, take that. We share it out amongst each other. This is what they are doing with us. Not only our natural resources, but also our intellectual resources as well. Muslims are fleeing their homeland to work in America, to work in Britain, to work wherever they can. Because they can't either find decent jobs in their countries, or because the offer is more tempting, or, of all the great ironies, we are more free to practice our religion in England than we are in our own Muslim countries.